internationally recognised as the sovereign territory of Egypt.
Ancient China, Egypt, Australia, Asia.
And God said, I've seen the pain and heard the cries of my people in Egypt, and I'm going to deliver them from the hand of Pharaoh.
And he loved Egypt so much, he married my mother, who was an Egyptian and quite an adventurer herself.
And he stretched forth his hand towards the heavens, and there was darkness throughout the land of Egypt.
If you want to sell in Egypt, you go there. You rent an office.
In Egypt, in a town like this, they slit 30 Jews.
We were hoping that you would tell us about what happened yesterday in Egypt.
Lady, let me put it this way. My whole damn garrison believed in this so much that without orders, they marched halfway across Libya and into Egypt.
I mean, I've hardly been reincarnated at all, but Dave. Wow, he can remember all the way back to ancient Egypt, building the pyramids and all of that.
Look at us there.
Egypt.
Is it A, Syria?
Egypt!
It's in Egypt. The pet, only mentioned in whispers.
In Egypt, Set.
It's written that if a victim of the Homdai should ever arise, he would bring with him the 10 plagues of Egypt.
Of the Gospel of John was found in ancient Egypt, and it dates to 2nd century AD.
How close is that to the original?
In Egypt.
Mesopotamia, Egypt.
It's what first interested me in Egypt when I was a child.
We found him in Egypt. He's all...
Okay, look, we can try this like Egypt.
Buy a boring book about Egypt from the guy that screwed Anna Scott.
Egypt. The answer is Egypt.
Did you know that the only dog ever struck by lightning was right here in Egypt?
He's got the Pope in Egypt.
And I brought your fathers out of Egypt.
And Moses said, but Lord, I'm a wanted man in Egypt.
And the rivers and waters of Egypt ran red and were as blood.
Anwar Sadat. After Anwar Sadat, former president of Egypt.
He come to Egypt, I see picture in newspaper.
He was once a prince of Egypt.
He was supposed to sail his ships to Egypt, but he sacked Constantinople instead.
April 5th, 1965, in Egypt.
The last exploration was in Egypt.
Well, not much at school, but I read all the time.
He had theories of ancient Egypt that I still cannot fully wrap my brain around.
I'd go to Egypt. We've been reading about the great Mark Antony and his adventures in Egypt.
What? Little Egypt.
Where the earliest pharaohs were said to have hidden the wealth of Egypt.
There is a legend of a secret order born in ancient Egypt called the Eye.
The Israeli kills the Arabs in Egypt, in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Syria, and every country they fight.
From the banks of Egypt!
With you in Egypt, huh?
Yes, Egypt.
There came into Egypt a pharaoh who did not know.
They won't help when Egypt and Syria attack, even Jordan.
This is RAF Mildenhall, but it's actually Egypt.
They were looking at Egypt.
Washington, Egypt. Heartbreak, I survive. I will survive.
Well, we don't know. Egypt, we think.
West and East came together in Egypt when President Roosevelt and Ibn Saud, King of Arabia.
Rome was so strong that when she bent her gaze on the second most powerful nation in the world, Egypt.
That comes special all the way from Egypt.
So one day, Loki's wiping out all the firstborn of Egypt.
South America, Australia, Singapore, Egypt.
Sadat of Egypt. He calls you Imam. Forgive me, his words, not mine.
Little Egypt! Her famous dance of the pyramids.
Between what we see happening in Egypt with Morsi and the current destabilization of Syria, yes, it's easy to imagine any number of scenarios playing out here.
That girl from Egypt flies to Russia to see her coach.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, Egypt is in my blood.
You are now in Egypt.
Yeah, you see, it's a common misconception stemming from the erroneous conjecture that the Roma, or Romani, if you will, originated in Egypt.
Why should we leave anything for Palestine? It's all the way over in Egypt.
You're lucky you didn't end up in ancient Egypt.